Evening, everyone. It is 7 o'clock on Monday, November 15th, and welcome to the City Council meeting. Whether you're watching from home or here this evening, we'd love for you to participate, so thank you for joining us. I'm going to make a couple of announcements. Well, actually, no, I'm going to start with roll call, sorry. Roll call, Madam Clerk. Alderman Seeger.
Present.
Alderman Mosio.
Here.
Alderman Kirkwood.
Present.
Alderman Newsom. Alderman Turner.
Here.
Alderman Rivera.
Present.
Alderman Florian.
Present.
Alderman Hayes.
Present.
Alderman Bolton.
Present.
Mayor Taylor. Present. You have a quorum, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Clerk. The invocation by Jesus Herrera from the Christian Fellowship Flock. Thank you for being here this evening.
Let us have a moment of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you and we thank you for the opportunity of getting together with our elected officials, our community, our leadership, and the people that make up Waukegan. In this month of gratitude, we thank you for allowing us to be healthy, to be alive, to have what we have, to desire what we need, but above all, to have you in our lives. We pray that all the items that will be discussed in this meeting, Father God, will be cordial and according to your will. And we pray for all of our elected officials, our aldermen, our clerks, our police and firefighters. Lord, we thank you for the blessing that you have bestowed upon them and the calling to protect us and keep us safe. At the same time, every city employee, every public works employee, and everyone that makes up this wonderful community of Waukegan. We bless this meeting in your holy name. We pray. Amen.
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 Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance Now we'll go on to Mayor's comments. Many of you this last week received something called Connect Waukegan, and it was mailed out to approximately 10,000 households about internet usage. Please complete and return the survey. It is a legit survey. At the beginning of the pandemic, when in-person classes ended, the challenge of internet access was apparent. So Connect Waukegan is working toward digital equality by getting internet access to every home. So it's important that we know what your access is. So if you get it, please fill it out. Don't ignore it or throw it away. The Waukegan Public Schools are hosting a contractor workshop, both in person and virtually, tomorrow, November 16th. The workshop is aimed at educating local contractors on the process of working with school districts and other public agencies. For more information, please go to WPS60.org. On Saturday, November 20th, the Belvedere Mall will celebrate 56 years in business. A number of businesses in the mall will have specials, and a vendor fair will be taking place from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. The holidays are fast approaching, and the city and North Shore Gas are working with Cool Food Pantry to supply Thanksgiving meals to those in need. A number of other organizations are also supplying turkeys and trimmings before the holiday. In addition, both Juan's Chuck Wagon and Big Ed's will have free turkey meals on Thanksgiving Day, Thursday, November 25th. I also want to take this time, because this is our last meeting before Thanksgiving, to extend a happy Thanksgiving to everyone in Waukegan and surrounding communities. Hopefully everyone is taking this year to celebrate with their actual families and not doing Zoom like we did last year. So, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Waukegan's official tree lighting is Saturday, December 4th at 5:30 at the Jack Benny Plaza on the southwest corner of Genesee and Clayton Streets, and all are welcome. New to the holiday events this year is a Kris Kringle Market at 206 North Genesee Street in Academy Square, directly across the Genesee Theater. on Saturday, December 4th and Sunday, December 5th from 3 to 7. It's a great place to do some of your holiday shopping and bring your children. Jeep owners, on Sunday, December 5th, Jeeps on the Run will bring hundreds of Jeeps to downtown Waukegan in a Big Marines Toy for Tots event. Participants will be able to stay for the after party at the Genesee Theater. So if you have a Jeep and want to join the fun, register at jeepsontherun.com. I also want to take note that the Church of Joy has potential opportunities for youth in Waukegan. So you can either go on their church website, or we will have flyers available here at City Hall for you. Thursday, November 18th is called Holy Smokes Fundraiser at the Glen Flora Country Club. And it is a benefit for St. Anastasia and St. Dismas churches. Mikey's free Thanksgiving dinner for seniors is Wednesday, November 24th from 10 to 12 at La Canoa Restaurant. If you would like to sponsor, or if you would like to receive food for citizens, please place your order. They're to-go orders, and we have information about that also. Also, many of you have probably noticed that downstairs we have two big boxes. One is for veterans and one is for Diaper Drive. Waukegan, we need your help. There's not a lot in those boxes. We'd love to fill them. There's a list of veteran supplies in the back. Some of the things that we need are razors, toilet paper, paper towels, deodorant. But again, for a complete list, get that sheet in the back, or you can get it from online. And the Diaper Drive, please, if you have diapers that you would like to contribute, we need packs of diapers in all sizes, even the pull-ups. So if you can give a pack of diapers, please drop them off at City Hall. Finally, Waukegan has a lot of live entertainment taking place over the next several weeks with a show at the Genesee Theater and Three Brothers Theater. If you haven't been to a show at the Genesee Theater, they are pretty crowded right now. Get your tickets early. And as well as Waukegan's High School Trap Auditorium, there's also shows there. So for information about these offerings and other events that are taking place in the city, please go to the complete calendar at waukeganil.gov. And Madam Clerk, that's all the announcements I have. On to resolutions, proclamations, presentations, and appointments. Can I have a first to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Alderman Turner, second by Alderman Hayes, for the appointment of George Sellis to the as building commissioner.
It's George standing up back there, folks. Welcome.
Thank you. Can I have a roll call, please?
Alderman Seeger.
Aye.
Alderman Mozio.
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood.
Aye.
Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Alderman Rivera.
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Hayes.
Aye.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
Motion pass.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Can you come up and we'll swear you in? I, George P. Sellis,
I, George P. Sellis,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of Illinois,
and the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of Building Commissioner
and the duties of the office of the Building Commissioner
for the City of
for
Waukegan
the City of Waukegan
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability. Thank you.
Congratulations and welcome, George. Good job. Great.
Next Next is audience time.
It's coming. Okay, we have 3 minutes. Everybody watch your P's and Q's. No swearing. I have Mr. Chuck Ruckstyle as number 1.
Stopwatch today, so see what's going on. I did give a handout to Alderman Rivera.
Pull that mic up to you, sir. Thank you.
2 issues. One is the zoning calendar, conditional use permit 2637 and 2636. I would just add that we would normally defer to the ward alderman because he certainly knows the local issues that are there, and the staff has denied this permit, and the community development block grant or community development committee has denied it as well. My suggestion was to go to the park district, since you have a member of the park district board on your staff, to have this property sold, have them turn it into a park. In lieu of that, I just drove by the Amazon facility on Waukegan Road. Parking could be done there, close to that 4-lane highway. Secondly, the motion to consider the environmental issues in subcommittee. I would like to have the alderman take action on that. The committee meeting as soon as possible. We would provide expert witnesses, and then we drafted 2 letters that could come from the mayor and city council to the governor and U.S. senators and the EPA to label ETO and coal ash as the same toxic chemicals as PCBs. And on the back of that handout, I have suggested action items for the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ruckstyle. Diane Verratti.
Good evening, Mayor Taylor, members of the City Council. Back in 2013, there was much discussion about a proposed zoning change in Waukegan's 9th Ward. Many of the affected residents spoke in City Council meetings arguing against the change because of its potential impact on their quality of life. And I confess that at first I didn't pay too much attention. These people lived in the far southwestern part of Waukegan. Their mailing addresses were for the most part in Libertyville, and most of their kids did not attend Waukegan schools. Whereas I lived in real Waukegan in the 7th Ward and the far northeastern corner of the city. These residents persisted in speaking through several meetings. And on July 1st, 2013, as I was driving to a council meeting, I was suddenly convicted of the need for me to speak on behalf of these people, none of whom I knew personally. I felt empathy toward them. I recognized that they had legitimate concerns. But most of all, I understood something really important. They were my neighbors. Neighbors stick up for each other. So I spoke during audience time, not with prepared words or ideas, but extemporaneously off the top of my head. It was unusual for me, but I had to do that. So fast forward now to 2021. Same ward, the 9th. I still live in the 7th. Now my neighbors are bringing their concerns to you, our aldermen. A conditional use permit is proposed to allow a giant corporation to take over an area in their neighborhood for use as a parking lot for large trailers. Same issue, quality of life. So again, I have tried to put myself in my neighbors' shoes. I have been impressed with their eloquent words, their passion, and their trust that you, our elected officials, can help them. It's hard for people to stand up in front of this body. Most of my neighbors who have come to you for help are not public speakers. Some of them have even expressed themselves very well in a language that is obviously not their native tongue. I admire them, and I want to add my voice to theirs. I'm reminded of a line from an old Simon and Garfunkel song. Yes, that's a very old song, just like me. Song is the sound of silence. Obviously, I've lifted this phrase out of context, but I'd like to challenge you with it. Here are the words, 4 of them. People hearing without listening. I know you have heard the words of my neighbors as they have come to plead their case, but have you listened? Listening is done with the heart, not just the ears. So one last word. These neighbors of mine are your neighbors also, and I think you should stick up for them.
Thank you, Ms. Ferrati. Tom Williams.
Mayor Taylor, Council, I'm speaking as a resident of the west side of Waukegan, next to where the proposed Amazon terminal parking place is going to be. I have seen no indication that there is any monetary benefit to Waukegan in the form of sales or use taxes. Right now, we live with noise from TKG, which is right across the fence and right next to where Amazon wants to go. We can't sit on our patio without having 65 decibels of noise at us 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. The air pollution from them, TKG, grinding lumber, construction debris, which might contain asbestos and other contaminants, putting it into the air. Amazon with their trucks and running diesels is not going to be any different. I don't know if the city of Waukegan was ever involved in the Medline pollution controversy, but Oakwood Street, I would assume in the 9th Ward is zoned for, quote, light industrial. If so, then the present TKG recycler I do not consider light with the noise and dust and chemicals they put into the air 6 days a week. I asked about Medline. Is the contamination produced by TKG or the proposed trucks from Amazon going to be any less harmful to the surrounding residents than the Medline pollution, and then add truck emissions on top of what we're already breathing and live with? There are multiple other empty lots existing along Waukegan Road, Route 41, other areas away from residential areas and closer to main thoroughfares for more efficient transport of trucks than this. Has a traffic study been done? Question mark. Washington Street and Grand Avenue are already clogged with vehicle traffic most of every day, maybe 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. There is no way constant additional truck traffic would be able to traverse the intersections without major tie-ups and delays, adding more.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Thank you. Gwen Williams.
Hi, good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Gwen Williams, and that was my husband that just spoke. We have resided at Heritage Green Apartment Complex for 8 years. Up until TKG moved in, I mean, it really was a pretty quiet place. The complex itself has many families, but starting with TKG, the disruption was so huge. They grind all day long, 5 days a week and half a day on Saturday. This starts at 7 in the morning. And when I am often awoken by the backup alarms. So starting at 7 in the morning, you know, beep, beep, beep. And I can't even imagine what it's going to be like if we have to deal with the 24 hours, like round the clock, all night long, backup alarms. So I am pleading, I implore you, please think about the quality of life of myself, my husband, all the families and all the residences, of which there are many, surrounding TKG, surrounding this proposed Amazon site. I agree with my husband. I cannot imagine that there is not another location where Amazon could do this without disrupting the lives of just everyday people. So I'll leave it at that. Please, please, please vote no against this. It is not right. It is not fair to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gwen. Brother Blanks?
Brother Blanks, Black Abolition Movement for the Mind. A couple of weeks ago, I had had an opportunity, myself and Mr. Brumfield's sister had an opportunity to meet with some of the members of the city on behalf of Mr. Brumfield as it relates to his property. I would like to think it was a rather productive meeting, and I look forward to the fact of having a positive solution to come out of it, if it's anything like what we had as far as the meeting. And so I'm looking forward to some positive solutions out of that. So I appreciate the meeting, and I appreciate you guys, appreciate the follow-up. On another note, I had mentioned some time ago as it relates to McAllister Avenue. Those are two of the things that's on the top of our agenda for 2022, and that is Mr. Brumfield and McAllister Avenue. Now, the last time I spoke regarding McAllister Avenue, I remember, if I can recall, I remember the mayor alluded to the pipes or the lead pipes that they're looking to replace and potentially getting a grant for that. Respectfully hope the grant, you're able to get a grant, but I don't know if that's going to be 5 years. I don't know if it's going to be 10 years to get a grant to remove those pipes. But what I do know is that McAllister Avenue has been put behind for so long, and it deserves immediate attention. So I don't know where you are. I'm not looking for you to do any extensive work on that particular street at this particular point, even if nothing more than some surfacing to say, hey, this is a main avenue that deserves the respect and attention as any other main avenue in this city, whether it's on the north side, the west side, or whatever. So take that into consideration as you're contemplating on getting the grant for the lead piping. Like I said, we don't know how long that's going to be to get that piping or to get the grant, but we know that on McAllister Avenue that it's been neglected for too long to wait 10, 15 years or whatever the case may be, taken into consideration.
Thank you. Mr. Calvin Mathis, yes.
Good evening, Ms. Mayor and City Council. Continuing on with my presentation with, as it concerns the murder of Marcellus Danette, and considering what has been done up to this point, I got a lot to say, but 3 minutes can only say so much in one session. But the righteous versus the unrighteous. I was thinking as the as the gentleman was swearing in, I thought about my high school career, and I remember a civics class, we had to remember the preamble to the Constitution. And in the beginning of the Constitution, of the preamble, it says, "We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice." I see in the newspaper that the state's attorney, Reinhardt, didn't like the results from the state police investigation. He's got to do a little bit more. I wonder what that's about. How much longer does the family have to wait for justice? As I said last week, the last meeting, or is that just for us? I was reading in the newspaper, I see Chief Walls went to the school and he was reading, "David gets in trouble," to a class of cook third graders. He told a story about a young boy who tends to run afoul of home rules, but either does not admit to doing anything wrong or blame someone else or something else. Then David got responsible. He seems to be happier when he was responsible, Wall said. He stopped saying, "I didn't do it." Going forward, in my presentation, the next part will be about leadership, ethics, and integrity, taking responsibility. I like that Chief Walls read this to the kids, because that's what leadership is all about, taking responsibility. Marcellus Dennett was dead in the street because of a process. That didn't just happen. That was a long process. The data's in. There will be another one on the street dead. I know that. The data's in. It's not prophecy or anything. Just look at the data. And we're going to pay for it. So going forward, next meeting, I'm going to talk about leadership, which includes all of us, leadership, but you guys are elected leaders. This started with, well, you know where it started, but I'll discuss that in my next presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Clyde McLemore.
Good evening, council members and mayor. I'd like to read an email that was sent out to the chief and to the mayor and 25 other people. Dear Chief Walls, you are felon residents of Waukegan to uphold the law as chief of police in the city of Waukegan, totally embarrassing the entire community. This has been going on for weeks because you have not stopped it. Several members of my invited guests stayed for the entire meeting Monday night and was appalled such lack of control and document. Why do you allow Clyde to continue illegally disrupting city council meetings? This is not the mayor's job to do this, but yours. If you would have arrested him the first time for violating the rules, this shit would have stopped a long time ago. But instead, it escalated. The taxpayers of Waukegan are paying you good money to be the chief of police and expect you to be the leader in the community and not Clyde to be in command. Just because an individual is black does not give them the individual right to do what he wants during the city council meeting, publicly insult who he wants, publicly use vulgar language during city council meeting, do personal attacks on private residents. I'm sure you're aware that the feds are in town, and maybe I need to call them to look over this matter in addition to this long laundry list of illegal activities going on in Waukegan Police Department. Margaret Carresso. This email was very racist. What does the person race have to do with my rights to speak at an open meeting? The Illinois Open Meetings Act allows me to speak in any open forum. Or does an individual consider that a black person is three-fifths of a human and not allowed to speak? Do you realize that our Attorney General is a black man? Mayor, instead of using this individual in your camp, it shows that the apple don't fall far from the tree. At the last council meeting, Mayor, you made a comment that you paid for your new bathroom at the cost at no cost to the citizens. Half-truths is a lie. And I followed the money. RJ and EJ Industries was paid $1,370 for your bathroom, $3,254.94 for painting the mayor's office. First of all, the only reason why you wanted a new toilet because it was black. How racist is that? You straight lied as you sat there trying to sound pitiful. The citizens and business owners of Waukegan elected you. We're looking for transparency.
Thank you. Raul Delgado?
Hello, good evening. I'm just here because I'm concerned about a business license application I actually put in on October 27th for El Norteño Western Wear. It's really just going to be a retail store, clothing store. It's going to be selling hats, Western hats, shirts, boots, etc., stuff like that. And right now, it's with planning and zoning. And I actually got it on November 3rd, and I'm just wondering what's going on, if I can do it. Maybe I messed up on the application, or what's going on, so I could get the store open, because really it's holidays are coming up, and that's the months I'm trying to get in. So just trying to see if I could help you guys out so we can get the inspection done and try to get it open. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Margaret Carrasco.
City government is to be conducted with no preferential treatment to no one, avoiding any conflict of interest or the appearance of. Many Latino businesses have been claiming they've been getting phone calls by you know who. Plus, a lot of complaints about the planning and zoning ever since a new person has been assigned there. One business was denied a license, told that the property was not zoned commercial. We have evidence from the county that it is. It has been for the past 20 years. In addition, this person has no job experience, no college degree in planning and zoning, and is grossly overpaid $83,000 Waukegan tax dollars. He has an agenda, I assure you, as he's told many persons, to retaliate and intentionally screw up to make the city look bad. He doesn't adhere to policy, with the access card. He doesn't even sign in. Why does he get away with this? He's a huge liability for the city. He brags about his past connections with gaming and casinos. And he works for the city? That's a no-no. He's unethical and corrupt. It was wrong to have hired him to oversee Waukegan's casino RFP. We need the casino, but not the corruption. Last year, I contacted the city demanding justice for the death of Marcellus Stinnett. He responded, F. Carrasco, I don't care that a black was killed. Then recently, he was questioned about complaints from George, a Latino business owner. He responded, F George, F the Latinos in Waukegan. Mayor, this corrupt, racist man should never have a job in the city of Waukegan, a city that's 90% minority. He needs to go back to Mundelein. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, that concludes the audience time.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Can I have a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion.
Alderman Turner, second. Alderman Mozio. Any questions to the motion? Item A, motion to approve the regular meeting minutes from Monday, October 18th, 2021. Item B, motion to approve the regular meeting minutes from Monday, November 1st, 2021. Motion to approve the 2022 City Council schedule. Item D, motion to approve a regular payroll dated November 5th, 2021 in the total amount of $1,622,251.37. Item E, motion to approve miscellaneous payroll, PD holiday payback, comp time cash out, retro final payout, dated November 5th in the total amount of $50,201.63. Item F, motion to approve vendor payments dated November 15th, 2021 in a total amount of $1,554.79.80. Item G, motion to approve an extension of the conditional use permit for Neater Capital at 200 North Green Bay Road for 18 months until July 19th, 2023. This matter was heard in the Community Development Committee during the November 1st, 2021 regular meeting. Item H, motion to approve the extension of an agreement with Amsky and Associates originally executed in 2014, previously extended in 2019, with the extension to expire December 2nd, 2022. This matter was heard by the Community Development Committee during their November 1st, 2021 regular meeting. Item I, motion to approve zoning calendar number 2639, a map amendment rezoning of property located at 935 Commonwealth Avenue from R3 single-family residence to B2 commercial shopping. This matter was heard by the Community Development Committee during their November 1st, 2021 regular meeting. Item J, a motion to approve a resolution approving and ratifying the execution of an amendment to the local agency agreement with IDOT regarding the Belvedere Bridge project for an obligation expansion for city reimbursement using STP Bridge grant funds. Item K, approval of a closed executive session meeting minutes from September 20th, 21 City Council meeting. Roll call, please.
Alderman Seeger.
Aye.
Alderman Mosio.
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood. Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Alderman Rivera.
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Hayes.
Aye.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item 5, reports and communication, there being none. Item 6, old business. Our Planning and Zoning Director, Noel Keisha-Lepper, is up here to give a short presentation.
You'll give us just a minute. I'm going to put the screen down and we're going to get the presentation. Deputy Clerk Patterson is kind enough to put the screen down for us. Oh, you're just fine. Thank you. Do the big switcheroonie. Thank you, Deputy Clerk Patterson. Is that okay for all of you, Aldermen? Good evening. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk to you about this proposal. As you know, this debate about the parking lot for Amazon on Lakewood Avenue has been going back and forth for several meetings. This presentation is about the items that remain open. We've had several discussions with representatives from Amazon and come to terms on most issues in the ordinances. I'm going to go on one more. The language here in our proposed ordinance, which is our proposal and Amazon's proposal, are on board docs, but you also have paper copies in your hands if you want to compare them. the headers in your copies say which is which. The way this is laid out, the Waukegan language is on the left, reflected in blue. The Amazon language is on the right, reflected in orange. Hopefully that helps you visually to follow along which is which. So the first slide here is in relation only to the text amendment. So the text amendment would apply to any future applicants for this use in this zoning district. The area of the text amendment language where we're apart is the city staff is proposing that the minimum activity size or occupancy in all buildings across Waukegan by an applicant for this use is 1,125,000 square feet. So a business would have to occupy that much space within the city of Waukegan in order to be eligible to apply for this kind of use. Amazon's proposal is 500,000. The city's proposal reflects Amazon's entire occupancy within the city in multiple buildings. Amazon's represents the size of what we're defining as the benefiting facility, that is the building that relates to the parking lot only. Also on the text amendment, city staff is suggesting that for any such use within 250 feet of a residential parcel or a residential district, that operational hours are only between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. unless, as part of the site plan approval process, a sound barrier, sound buffering, landscaping, etc., are installed. Amazon's proposal is that the operation, the hours of operation be set forth only in the conditional use permit, not in the text amendment language. The city's position on that is that we feel that prevention is better. In the case of being adjacent to residential, it's better to protect the residents from the onset rather than wait until there's an issue and try to respond to it. And again, this would apply to any future applicant for this use because it's part of the text amendment. Then moving on to the conditional use permit. This is the ordinance specifically for the conditional use permit for this use at this parcel. So this is Amazon specific and site specific. Again, the city is saying the operation should take place only between 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. unless a sound wall and dense landscaping are installed and maintained around the storage lot, and that's approved as part of the site plan approval at the onset. The Waukegan zoning ordinance sets standards for awarding conditional use permits, and one of those standards is that a conditional use not negatively impact the use or enjoyment of neighboring permitted uses. So the residential uses are a permitted use in their zoning district on that site, and this is a request for a special use or a conditional use. Again, any approved site plan should include all of the elements that are going to be on the site, such as a sound wall. Amazon's proposal is that the operation be 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They've also responded that in the event of violation of the city noise ordinance, that they would implement measures to attenuate the noise problem. That could include a sound wall if necessary. Also on the conditional use permit, again, related to the sound wall, the city is saying that this should include a sound barrier. Amazon's proposal is, again, that they're willing to go through the site plan approval, but not with the sound barrier, that they would be responsive to a violation of the noise ordinance. This is on a standalone slide. It'll be repeated in the subsequent slides, but I wanted you to have a view of it with a little bit larger print than how it appears on the following slides, because it's kind of scrunched in there. So this, again, is site-specific and user-specific because it's part of the conditional use permit. The staff has talked to you, and you've seen it in our prior staff reports, about the opportunity cost. Because this would be a parking lot use, the city would not have an opportunity to have an industrial building on this industrial zone land. We have limited industrial land remaining in the community. And while this site, the parcels owned by this property owner, Mr. Kennedy, have been on the market for some time, we've never been approached to vacate the right-of-way that we own between the parcels to allow for the combination of these parcels as a single site, as is in this proposal. So the site has never been marketed to the general market as it has been marketed to Amazon, including the right-of-way.
Including what?
I'm sorry, including the right-of-way, which is one of the 4 items here. So the city is saying that there's a cost for missing out on that opportunity. And we suggest that that cost be tied on an annual basis or per lease term, that the use of the lot be tied to Amazon's lease at Bridgepoint North, and that a payment for our opportunity cost, our lost opportunity to have something greater where a building would generate property taxes above and beyond that a parking lot will, that there should be a payment for that. It's left blank here because we know there's been some question from the city council as to what that number should be. And you'll see we have some proposals later here. And just to refresh your memory, this use will pay property taxes for the land and for the improvements that are made as a parking lot. However, there won't be property taxes, obviously, billed or collected for a building because there won't be one. Amazon's response is they would like to make a one-time payment of $200,000 to compensate for that. So again, this is that same language, it's just scrunched real small. So again, the city ties the parking lot to a lease, and because of the lost opportunity for not having a building, we think that there should be a payment that would represent what we would have if the property were used for its highest and best use. Amazon wishes to make a one-time payment of $200,000. They've said there's no market for this property. And again, I've addressed that it's never been marketed as a consolidated site, including the right-of-way. Amazon says that they pay significant property taxes on the building at Bridgepoint North and that the building's linked to the trailer parking on the subject property. Those property taxes will have to be paid regardless of whether there's a parking lot or not. Those taxes are charged against that building. Again, on the conditional use permit language, the city has approached the Waukegan Township assessor to help us determine what kind of tax rates would be charged if there were a building on this site. They've done some homework and determined that the sales comparables in the area amount to $78 a square foot, 77 of that being for the building and $1 a square foot being for the land value. For the Amazon facility at Bridge, Waukegan Township assessor, they approached Warren Township assessor. That building is in Warren Township. They communicated with Warren Township and determined that that facility is $57 per square foot, $1 of which is for the land, $56 of which is for the building. Taking those values, we looked at the maximum size building that could be on this lot, and the assessor made a recommendation for what that size is. And we determined that a maximum size building there, if you go down to the bottom line, the opportunity cost would be between $640,000 and $881,000 for a 5-year period. And that would be just Waukegan's share of the property taxes that we would be collecting. That would not be the whole property tax bill. So a quick refresher. City staff says the minimum lot size, and this, just to clarify, this covers both the text amendment and the conditional use permit in these things. So these are the 3 remaining issues. All the other language we've come to agreement on. City staff says a minimum of 1,125,000 square feet for the benefiting business. Again, this is for our view across Amazon's operations in Waukegan. Amazon proposes 500,000 square feet for the benefiting facility, that is the building that's tied to this parking lot specifically. City staff says the operation should be between 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. only, unless there is sound mitigation installed at the onset. Amazon says a 24-hour operation, no sound wall unless the noise ordinance is exceeded, and then we can work something out. The city proposes a payment for each 5-year lease term. In this case, $881,595, which could be paid once per term, or it could be paid annually, and this would be the annual amount. Amazon proposes a one-time payment of $200,000. So you have several decision points here. Again, the first is the size of the facility. This would apply to both the text amendment and the conditional use permit. And again, the city staff's position is that it's imperative in the text amendment that this type of use be limited to only the very largest of Waukegan businesses. To refresh your memory back to the very first staff recommendation on this, this is a 180 from our current position. We don't allow this. Your parking lot has to be within 300 feet of your operation in industrial zones at the present time. So this is a significant deviation from that. So we would only want to make it available for the very largest of Waukegan businesses. So Amazon had not seen this at the time of my putting this together. So I don't know if they would agree to this. They do have a copy of this. But we had suggested a possible solution for this is to change the language to add the last phrase there that's underlined. The benefiting business or facility must own or lease and occupy no less than 1,125,000 square feet of space within buildings in the city at the time of approval of any conditional use permit. That would not make them have to keep that over 1 million square feet in perpetuity. But at the time that a CUP was applied for and received, any business would have to have that. That would be text amendment language. Decision point 2 is the operating hours. Again, this would apply to the text amendment and the conditional use permit. It's really imperative that the text amendment, that you remember that the text amendment language will apply to all future applicants for this unless the language is changed in the future. The conditional use permit language can apply solely to this business at this site. And again, the city's position, the staff's position has been this, in part because we've heard so much from the residents that they have concerns about the operation. So this is an attempt at a preventative measure to prevent this from negatively impacting their quality of life. Decision point 3 is the payment amount and the term. So again, the staff's position is a payment for each 5-year term. It could be paid once per year. Amazon's position is a one-time payment of $200,000. They also feel that we have overestimated the size of the building that could be on this site, and they suggest that only a building of 85,500 square feet could be built on the site. So if you follow here, again, this is language only for the conditional use permit. If you look at the second bullet point, the city's proposed payment amount of $881,595 for 5 years would reflect the maximum building size and the price per square foot based on market comparables. Amazon's first building at Bridgepoint North occupies nearly half the lot size. A building occupying half of this lot would generate property taxes to the city of $110,150 each year, or $550,750 for a 5-year term. A building that's the size that was suggested by Amazon as what we could build on the site, which is 85,500 square feet, would generate taxes to the city of $61,046 per year, or $305,230 for 5 years. So in conclusion, these are the decisions that you need to make, Alderman. What is the minimum size? This again relates to the text amendment primarily, but also the conditional use permit. Decision point 2, In the text amendment, this would apply to any applicants, and then the conditional use permit, it applies only to this applicant. And decision point 3, the payment amount and the term. Again, the staff proposes a payment each 5 years, or in this case, it would be roughly lease renewal. And we're showing you 3 options. Of course, you don't have to pick one of those numbers. You can pick any number that you want, but we're showing you 3 options that we think are appropriate and based on some homework. Somewhere between $881,595 and $305,230 for a 5-year term. Amazon would like to make to you a one-time payment of $200,000. I'd be glad to answer any questions, and Amazon has representatives here if you have questions of them.
I'm curious about why they care so much about the size of the building.
I would be speculating, Jerry, jump up if I'm wrong, or any one of your team. Let him answer that.
Hello, Jerry Callahan on behalf of the owners, the Kennedys. The reason, and we did talk to Amazon about this, the other building is a completely different business unit, and it's on a different lease term, and it's not related. They're not going to be using this parking for that building, so they didn't want to link them.
Yeah, makes sense.
I think it's as simple as that. They're really just different business units and different lease terms.
But this is our language, correct, Noel? For so because this is changing what we do going forward, yes. Right? So when we say it only has to be 500,000 square feet, that'll apply to everybody going forward.
In the text amendment, it would apply to everybody going forward. Now, that's not going to open it up to everybody, because obviously that's still a large operation.
Mm-hmm.
But there are more people that meet that 500,000 square foot than the twice as much.
Okay, thank you for
I
that.
can't give you an exact number today, though.
All right, thank you for that clarification.
Honor?
Well,
Yes.
500,000 square feet is about 7 acres or 6 acres. Do we know?
Off the top of my head, let me do the math.
Anybody know?
More than 10.
It's about
It's more than 10.
more than 10, so
43,560
a
is.
million is 20 square, would be 20 acres-ish, maybe 22. All right.
Alderman Bolton?
Yes, this question is for Amazon. Are you willing to negotiate that one-time payment of $200,000?
I don't believe so, and the reason is we think 200,000 is.
Can you project just a little bit more, please? Speak up.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Again, I think if you look at the calculations, first of all, as mentioned, this property's been on the market for a long time. It's true that there is an unused right-of-way that it would be vacated as part of this, but anybody in the market can see that that opportunity is there. So this property's been on the market and nobody has really approached them. This is really the first time. The other thing is the size of the building. If you look at my understanding of what the assessor did was kind of maxed out by making it a multi-story building. I've been doing this for a long time. A multi-story building would have to essentially be an office building because industrial buildings have not been multiple story in decades. It's just not the way those buildings are constructed.
That's right.
And this would not be a site for an office building. The reason is I used to do suburban office development projects. I haven't been involved in a speculative office building project in 20 years. I have done office buildings, but they're always corporate headquarters or something like that. They are not speculative office buildings. So to think that this area would qualify as a site for an office building is really not realistic. So we're down to 85,500 square feet, and they have laid it out. I mean, Bridge did it. This is their business. They laid out a building on that site. One of the things you have to remember versus Bridgepoint North, the comment was made, well, the first Amazon building covers half that site. they don't have to provide stormwater management on that lot because there's a big lake out there that handles stormwater management. This site has to have stormwater management, and it has to have trailer parking on one side, docks, an area for the trailers to get in and out of the docks, car parking on the other side. So I've seen the site plan, and there is really, this building can't be bigger than around 85,500. So that's about 1/3 of the area that was projected by the assessor. It's just not realistic to think you can get a 250,000 square foot building on this site because it's got to be a one-story building.
One last question, Mayor, I apologize. On the behalf of those that have spoke, have you looked anywhere else?
Yes, they've been looking at, this was not the first choice. They've looked all over the place. There's nothing at Bridgepoint North because the area is built out. All the area that you're talking about on Waukegan Road that's vacant, it's owned by Abbott Laboratories. That's their property, and they are not selling that property. They would much prefer to be closer, if possible, but they haven't been able to find a site.
Thank you.
Alderman Hayes.
My question for you is that we've showed our cards. Planning and zoning has done a really good job of explaining where our numbers, where they're rooted. And we're just getting a blanket $200,000 number for you. How do you support the $200,000 number?
Well, I frankly don't think that the analysis that's being done, that somehow the city is losing money here, is a valid one, because I don't think you're going to ever get a building on this properity.
Can you provide us a basis for your number? Do you have any sort of calculation or any comparable?
No, it was really, we first offered 125, it went up to 200.
And isn't it true that anybody who purchased the land would have to pay to vacate the right-of-way anyway, so a payment would come through? You're not necessarily paying a premium for us to change the text ordinance for you to use the property.
No, there's a separate payment for the right-of-way. That's not covering the right-of-way payment, the 200,000.
Okay, and what are you going to pay for the right-of-way?
What the city told us it was, 35,000 or something like that.
Somewhere in the 30s, it's $1 a square foot.
Okay, and why isn't Amazon willing to negotiate the payment or the hours of operation?
Well, the hours of operation are critical to their operations. That's how they operate, 24 hours a day. The payment, I don't represent Amazon. I know that they're not willing to pay more than that. So,
has Amazon paid more for similar facilities in Lake County?
I don't know that they've paid anything, to tell you the truth.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Okay.
Alderman Turner, did you want to speak?
Who owns that land? Oh, thank you. Who owns the land?
Joel Kennedy.
Yeah, who's buying it?
Well, I think right now it's Bridge that's scheduled to buy it, but
Okay, and who's going to develop it?
it'll probably be, Bridge is, they sell their properties after they develop them, so I don't know who's going to end up owning it.
Understood. So what interest does the city of Waukegan have in it that would justify the city of Waukegan charging nearly $1 million, $881,000? Why? It's extortion. We have no interest in this property, and I just can't see how and we're estimating a requirement of $881,000. We're estimating that they should pay us because somebody else could build a building on there that would generate that kind of money. But nobody else is doing that. So we're basing a decision and holding these people's feet to the fire for $881,000? For what? This is a strict business deal, a land deal between 2-3 other parties that only involves the city of Waukegan because we have to give them a permission slip.
All due respect, it actually involves everybody who's sitting over there and everybody who's come to every meeting for the last 4 meetings.
Alderman, I heard what they said. I understand that. But what you have to understand is there is private property ownership here in the United States. And that property is not beholden to not be developed because somebody nearby doesn't like it. That would be like if you wanted to build a garage on your property, but your neighbor says, oh, I don't think it should because I want to see the trees.
I wouldn't ask to change the law to do that.
They're following the law. They're coming here asking for permission. What I'm saying is, it's wrong. In my opinion, it is wrong to charge these people $881,000 for permission to do their land deal that we're not going to have any involvement in.
No.
I haven't even begun to talk about the actual development. I'm just talking about the money.
No one's charging them. The city is giving us resources and a benchmark of numbers that we can then debate amongst ourselves. They haven't received a bill. That's not the price tag for the property. They are giving us information, which is what we pay our staff to do.
The decision point, it says here, the decision
Gentlemen,
point is opportunity
time.
cost payment. Opportunity cost, right? We're charging them a cost for the opportunity for them to develop that land, to buy and develop. We're going to charge them money to allow them to do that. That's what it is, Tom. That's what the decision point 3 is. I haven't talked about decision points 1 or 2. I'm just talking money.
Let's allow somebody else to talk.
Alderman Turner, if I can just say, that's a cost to the city. The opportunity cost is a cost to the city.
But the city doesn't have any interest, Noel. We don't own it. We don't lease it. We're not developing it. We're not doing anything but sign a piece of paper saying you have permission to build on this land if you pay us. If there were private parties doing that, it would be called extortion.
Okay, that's
that permission requires.
Alderman, I'm sorry, Noel.
That permission requires us to make basically a 180 turn from our current ordinances to significantly change our ordinance, and that is an opportunity cost to us to change the use from one that's permitted in the district.
Alderman Florian.
I think the other, and correct me if I'm wrong, Noel, isn't part of the cost of this the wear and tear on our roads, the amount, there's going to be at least 100 trucks a day going back and forth on this route. Isn't part of the idea here that we will recoup some of the loss of us having to re-maintain these roads?
Yes, it is. Their estimate is 92 trucks per day on average. I don't imagine another use there that would generate 92 trucks per day.
And didn't you tell me it costs $1 million a mile to replace road?
I don't know that with absolute certainty. That was the number that I've heard in the past.
Well, Alderman Moiseo quoted the same number earlier. And how many miles is it from the A to B here?
It's about 4 miles, but those 4 miles are not all our obligation.
That's $4 million right there.
Yeah. Illinois taxpayers, yes, not all just Waukegan, because some of it's the state road. But
and then I have a question for your friend behind you. One of the things that one of the residents brought up, which I was grateful they did, not tonight but earlier, there's not even a bathroom on this location. I live on a golf course on the 18th hole, and people drink beer the whole way they're going through that golf course, and by the time they get to the 18th hole, guess what they got to do? And there's no bathroom there. So what do I get to watch? I get to watch them pee in the bushes all the time. Where are these truck drivers going to go to the bathroom?
Well, there is a condition that says that they have to have facilities at the Bridgepoint North building.
But that's 4.5 miles away, sir.
They're dropping a trailer or picking up a trailer. It's probably a 15-minute round trip.
It only takes them 15 minutes to play the 18th hole, and I can tell you I see them going to the bathroom
I don't
constantly.
expect the drivers to be drinking beer.
Well, but they're going to be drinking something.
Your Honor, Your Honor, Your Honor.
Alderman Moiseo.
Noel, how hard is it it's a conditional use permit. If it passes, how hard is it to revoke or hold their feet to their fire on a conditional use permit? It does say originally that they'll have to meet with planning and zoning every 2 months. That's in a document, correct?
That we can call them to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Every 2 months?
Up to every 2 months.
Okay.
As often as that.
And if we find they're not living up to the conditions, then we can...
There is a legal process for that, Stu. Since you're the attorney, do you want to speak to that process?
So there is a process by which a hearing would be granted, an opportunity for the applicant to be heard on why they why they don't feel that there's been a violation. We can also pursue fines via administrative hearings. And if the conditional use were revoked by the city council and the use continued, then we could take that to court as well. That all takes time and resources, though.
But there is an avenue.
Yes, no, a conditional use permit is, as the name indicates, conditioned. And if those conditions are not either met at the onset or ongoing, that permit can be revoked, can be limited, can be suspended. So, yes.
The other thing, let's say the noise ordinance is violated. Who's the person that tests that? Us? Will we test the noise ordinance? That's sort of up in the air. We don't quite know.
Well, it is our standard.
Our standard.
And
okay.
so, I know that some communities, for noise complaints, the police will have a noise meter. In some communities, it falls to planning and zoning or the building department. I've unfortunately been out in the field trying to measure sound from various things with code enforcement officials before. It's difficult, it's seasonal, because in Illinois we have trees that have leaves on them sometimes and do not have leaves on them other times, which changes the sound profile. But yes, that is something that the city would do. Sorry for the long answer to the short question.
And along those points, what's the recycling to the south of it? What's it called?
TKG.
Has TKG ever been noise tested and violated and fined, or we just sort of let that go by the wayside?
No, they have violations from the Public Health Department.
And that's not a conditional use.
But that's not noise violations, right?
That's not a noise violation. That's public health. And then that's not a conditional use, right, TKG?
Is that?
That's correct. They do not have a conditional use permit.
They can
That's
operate
correct.
as long as they want, within their hours of operation. The answer is yes.
Yeah.
Alderman Turner?
Yep. So we did acoustical studies, noise studies over there, and what was the result of that? Is that going to exceed the allowable noise levels according to our ordinance, our current?
The city did not conduct independent acoustical noise levels.
Did anybody?
The applicant submitted a noise study, which they presented to us, and then Mr. Callahan can speak to whether it was updated or kind of reinterpreted.
Well, yeah, the original noise study did two measurements, one average sound, one at high sounds. Your ordinance requires measurement for continuous sound. We've had not only the noise consultant who did the original study, but another noise consultant who is very active in the area, and they both agree that average noise measurement is the appropriate measurement for continuous sound. And the reason there is some discrepancy between the terminology is your ordinance goes back to 1974. The acoustics people I talked to said it's really kind of an antiquated terminology, and that the current terminology that's used is average sound. The average sound emissions from a similar operation, which was measured, it shows that this facility will meet both the daytime and the nighttime noise standard under your ordinance. So our reason for rejecting the need to put in a noise attenuation wall right now is that we don't think there's going to be a noise violation because of these two studies. Two acoustical engineers have reached the same conclusion. And the reason I say, you might ask, well, why not just put in the sound wall? That sound wall will cost over $1 million. Now, if they need to put it in the future, so be it. But why put it in when it's not, we're showing you it's not necessary.
So did you was a sound study done on the east side of the road or the property by Green Bay Road?
Well, actually, the same sound technician went out from 10 to 11 o'clock at night, and actually, because of the Green Bay Road traffic, it exceeds the city's sound ordinance. Now, I don't think that you can regulate traffic on, the sound of traffic on a state highway, but it does give you an indication that there's actually higher sound emissions from Green Bay Road than there will be from this facility.
Do we know if there were any noise complaints related to TKG at all? Yeah, I heard them talk about pollution and such, but I didn't, was there a noise study? Is it?
The beeping of the truck, she said.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah. So she heard the beeping. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Alderman Florian?
I'm sorry, can I just say one more thing? I've only been an alderman for about 2.5 years, but one of the things that has been said by some of the elder statesmen up here is that we should support each other when we have an issue in our ward. And Alderman Hayes has done more work on this issue than any of us have done, and I know that for a fact because I asked Noelle about it, and she's been here 30 years and she's never seen an alderman do what he's done. And you people should be grateful you have him as an alderman, I'll just say. Because he's made the rest of us look really bad, but we have been asked to support each other, and I want to say to each one of you, if something like this was coming to your backyard, you would be just as pissed off as he is, and you would not even be considering this. I mean, we don't always have to take what's given to us. Yes, we need to be business friendly. Yes, we need to do things to bring tax dollars into Waukegan, but we should put our residents first.
I'm going to, as mayor, say comments that I have kept my opinion quiet on this issue. But as many of you know in this room, I was your 9th Ward alderman before this, so I know the area quite well. What I will tell you is the reason that the size of this building matters is because what I don't want to see for Waukegan down the road is that we become a city of parking lots. So you should not be allowed to have a parking lot away from your place of business. And if you are, then there needs to be certain guidelines for that. As far as the hours of operation, 24 hours is just unreasonable to me when you are backing up to a residential area. I personally would not want to get up every morning and listen to this every evening, go to bed. This will drive you crazy. If I don't want it, I don't expect anybody else to want it. So I can't support that in any way, shape, or form. Last, as far as a payment, we need to have enough money that comes in that supports the infrastructure because you are using city services, you are using our roads. I was out by that way today. There were 5 trucks in line trying to get out onto Washington and a car in front of that. Honestly, somebody, because it takes a truck a long time to pull out onto Washington where the traffic is already moving at a pretty good speed, they immediately have to come to a halt. If you are doing this all day long and all night long, the incidence of accidents will go up tremendously. So now you will be using our police officers to go out there for that. So those are my reasons for not supporting this. But most importantly, as Alderman Florian said, residents have to count. You've been there before this came in. I know the problems it's going to cause because we anticipated some of this when TKG came in, and we're still dealing with TKG. So thank you for coming out. It is not my vote. It is the alderman's vote. But as your mayor, I felt like I needed to tell you my feelings on it because I have not said publicly how I felt about it. So with that said, are there any other questions, or should we, Alderman Hayes?
I have a couple of comments, but the first comment that I want to make, which is incredibly important, is that I'm holding approximately 50 petitions that were delivered to me tonight that have been signed by residents that are adjacent to the property. You guys are welcome to take a look. I didn't want them to get lost in the shuffle. I'm happy to pass them down. The last line of the petition, which is signed by all the different residents in the area, is this staging area and all the noise, traffic, and pollution it will add will greatly make our lives more difficult and less healthy. The fact that we're even having this debate when people have been coming to us for 2 months now to tell us that they are afraid for their safety and their health is mind-boggling to me. I went back and watched the footage and to see how many people had come. There's 2 major realizations I had in watching us on camera. First, my hairline is receding excessively, and if the cameraman can do anything to help me out on that, I would appreciate it. The second is that we have had a packed house for the last couple of meetings, and people have spilled into the hallway, and they come with the same message every single time: health, safety, noise, traffic congestion, infrastructure. Obviously, we consider infrastructure very heavily. They're concerned about the infrastructure, but it is health and it is safety. I want to tell you, I've told you this before, I'm going to make it quick, but I've gone door to door. I've knocked on at least 50 doors. I see kids' bikes that are on those streets. There's kids riding their bikes up and down. There were kids trick-or-treating on those streets a couple of weeks ago. Every single resident I talked to said no. Every single resident. I have explained at the last several meetings all of my concerns. Again, I'm going to noise, health, safety, and the fact that the residents don't want it. Again, the petitions, I think, are really important. It will greatly make our lives more difficult and less healthy. I also really want to implore everybody to listen to our staff. I get people that come up during audience time, and we've also talked about our staff and why they're here and what they do. We have very, very smart, capable, and seasoned planning and zoning staff, and they have made their recommendations to us. They've tried to negotiate with Amazon. Alderman Bolton, you asked, hey, are you guys willing to negotiate? They've said no. No, these are our terms. If you don't like it, go pound sand. Are we up here to be held hostage by somebody who wants to do business in Waukegan? I don't think so. So, as the 9th Ward Alderman, I'm asking you to vote against this. As a resident of the city of Waukegan and a colleague of yours, I'm asking you to vote against it. But if you vote yes, and I know many of you have prejudged this or have listened, maybe, I don't know that you've heard without listening, but I'm going to say this. If you vote yes, you're telling the businesses that think that Waukegan is the county's parking lot, to the mayor's point, that we'll welcome you with open arms. You want to park your trucks here? We don't care where it is. You want to amend an ordinance so that you can do business in here? Yeah, come on in. Effectively, what we're telling them is our ordinance isn't worth the paper that it's written on, because it will always be changed depending on the name of the name of the business that's coming before you to try to get it changed. You're telling the residents that have come before us so bravely to speak at City Council that you are, and this is what I fumbled earlier, that you are hearing without listening. You're telling them that you don't care. People have come here. They have come here for multiple meetings. They have voiced their concerns, voices trembling, trying to speak English though it's not their native language. They have come up here, they have stood before us, and they have put the cards on the table and they said, please, please do not do this. It's going to materially alter our way of life. So if we're trying to get the best deal for the city of Waukegan, I'm just going to tell you that the best deal we can get is to keep our citizens safe and secure and to make sure that they know that we hear them. We are listening and we hear them. I encourage you to vote no.
Mayor, I have one last comment.
Okay, Alderman Bolton.
Thank you. Speaking in reference to violation, one thing we have to realize, and I know, it's an industrial area already approved. And speaking of violation, there is triple parking in that area that many of those cars are not being ticketed. So when you speak of violation and issues being addressed, most of the people that live there are central workers. And Amazon, from what I understand, we're supporting small businesses. They're going to bring and support our central workers. So I just want to say that. Thank you.
Your Honor, one last comment.
Okay, Alderman
To a little history lesson. I don't know how long ago it was, probably 12 years ago, the school bus depot wanted to go in next to Classic Chevrolet. And it was a similar discussion, just like this, just as passionate. I was out of the country when the vote was taken, and it passed, and people had the same concerns. And after the heated discussion, and I'm not trying to draw too much of a parallel because I know everything's a little bit different, But after the bus, the same thing with the beep beep and the diesels and starting them up in the morning, and that's just 2 blocks from my house. I didn't get one complaint. And the people that had come out before that, before it was in, they were just as passionate as you people. But after it started, the bus company was able to turn that beep beep down to whatever is allowed by OSHA. I don't remember what it was, but so it was a similar situation. Now, since it's gone, they run at a different spot, but that was probably there for about 5 years, I think. I don't know, I'd have to look it up, but it was there for quite a bit of time. So we did have something similar to this. It was similar. I'm not saying it's the same.
It's not the same, and they probably didn't file any complaints because they didn't feel like they were heard the first time around.
No, I don't know about that.
Okay, are we amending this, or we need to put some?
Call for a vote. I mean,
Okay.
so just from a procedural standpoint, you have before you a city draft dated November 10th, 2021, a Kennedy draft dated 11/11/2021, both the text amendment and the CUP. As Noel has said, there are decision points here. It is fully legal to do straw polls to determine what there is support for. You could also bring up either of these drafts and then call for a vote and then amend them. I suggest that you probably start with the text amendment first. So if someone would like to make a motion on the text amendment, and it would be, I would advise starting with the city draft.
Wait, well, I'm sorry, ma'am. So I'm a little confused because we have these items listed on the agenda to be voted on, right? So I'm a little confused here, Steve.
Am I right, Counselor? The items on the city, on our agenda are the city's copy, correct, Counselor?
Yes, I would, yes.
So then what would be the motion, to approve this, or?
Or amend it.
Yeah, so I would start with going to the agenda.
Item A.
Item A, for the text amendment. A motion, and then the starting document would be the, sorry,
It would be page 1 of.
right. An ordinance amending certain provisions of Article 10 and 13 of the City of Waukegan zoning ordinance regarding auxiliary outdoor storage of semi-trailers. And the header on it is City Draft 11/10/2021.
So
11/10/2021.
So are we going to vote on the city text amendment, Counselor? Or do we amend the city if possible?
You can do
either or.
Either or.
Not find it. Okay, all right.
Normally, we don't do this on the floor, but because it wasn't done in committee, it has to be done on the floor.
Correct. I understand.
All right. City draft.
So is there somebody who would like to either leave it as is and make a motion for it, or make an amendment to it?
Wait a minute.
What would be the first?
Which one are we looking at, first of all,
Item
Stu?
A, under old
Item A,
business.
But which draft?
I'm looking at the drafts.
Yeah, these,
Yeah.
which of these?
City Draft 11/10/2021.
Okay.
Of the ordinance amending certain provisions of Article 10 and 13.
So what is Article 10, Counselor?
Sorry, what?
What is item 10? No, Article 10, excuse me.
Article 10 is definition, hold on.
What needs to be amended on that, if anything?
Yeah. So, Article 10 is adding to the I-1 district the auxiliary outdoor storage of semi-trailers. Really, what you're looking at is Section 3, which is Article 10, Section 10.3, which is the conditions.
So how do we amend that?
Okay.
Now, do they have the choice that they could put this back in committee and sort this out? I mean, is that an option?
Oh, I see what's going on. Okay, I got it. So, hey, Greg, if you read the city thing, it has everything that Noel put in her presentation.
Yeah.
That's the city's recommendation. Then there's also the choices.
And that's this one.
So this is what we're requesting
The
them to
choices
do.
would be, we would have to
right?
make the choices would be the amendment. Am I saying that the right way?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
This man was in.
where'd Noel go?
Oh, so which text amendment? The city amendment or the Kennedy amendment? That's what we're voting on? That's what we need a motion on?
Whoever wants to make a motion on one of them can make a motion to approve or deny either version, the city version or the Amazon version. So as Stu said, maybe you want to start with the city draft, making a motion to approve or deny it. If it's denied, then maybe you want to move to the Amazon draft.
Okay, why don't we do it that way?
Or you can make amendments to points within either version.
Stu, was a straw poll taken?
No straw poll was taken. So, I mean, if your question is there support for either version?
Yeah.
You could do a straw poll, which is not binding, but kind of tells you where things are going to go.
What difference is it? Why don't we just take a vote?
It'd be a nice thing it'd be a good thing for the chair to ask for.
I think it'd be good for our residents to see the way people are voting as well.
Why
So
don't we
before we
just-
start nitpicking the language, I mean, based on the comments that were made, it sounds like, there's a number of people in favor, but I'd still be, is it even necessary for us to go down this road?
The city version, you mean?
So what would we?
Any version.
Would we say, do you support the city's draft or Amazon's draft, and then everyone would vote on that? Is that how that would go?
We'll know that when we take the vote, right?
It would be a straw poll.
Well, but I don't know what that means.
The straw
I
poll
guess.
is, are people in favor of it or not?
Of
Just
the whole
generally?
thing,
Yeah.
or, okay.
So do you want to do a straw poll then?
Sure.
Okay. Those that are in favor of the city's version, raise your hand. Now,
What-
this is the city's version, which is on the left-hand side of the document.
Do we even get there, though? Do we take a straw poll on whether people are in favor of entertaining the use for the property generally? Before we have to get to the language?
Okay, we could do that.
I guess that's my question.
Mayor, may I jump in
We
on that?
just make a vote.
I think even before the use, because that applies to the conditional use permit, the use on the property, it's the text amendment. Are you in favor or not of adding this as a potential conditional use within the zoning district, within the I-1 zoning district? So that's the first point. Is it yes or no, you want to have this use as a conditional use? And then there are the details below that that are on in section 3 of your draft ordinance, either version, section 3. It's just a difference of language.
Thank you,
Did
Noel.
that make sense? Was that more confusing? Sorry if it was.
Yeah, I think the question is, how do people feel about whether this site should be used as a parking lot for trailers 24 hours a day?
And changing the text for future.
Sure.
Yeah,
Right.
and
So-
changing the law to make that the case.
If I can add to that, if there is no text amendment, then the conditional use is a moot point, because then there is no use that's permitted or conditional within that district.
So why don't we just vote on the text amendment? Why don't we go to
Ken?
the straw poll? and
We have
all
to
that?
make an amendment to the, I'll make the motion to amend it, whatever the language needs to
And
be.
to amend it to which
We're
one?
just doing the straw poll, I
Oh.
think, right now, right?
All right.
I'm not participating.
Okay. So, do you want to say that one more time, Noel, how you worded that?
I'm not sure which part, but sure.
Okay.
So the text amendment, if the text amendment doesn't pass, if the vote is to deny the text amendment, then there is no possible conditional or permitted use within the zoning ordinance that would allow for such a parking lot. So if it doesn't pass, then the conditional use permit application is moot. It's not an option. The vacation and consolidation could still happen if you wanted those two, but those were based on this use. And normally we don't do a vacation without having an idea what the use is, at least. That's been the tradition the last several years. So the first issue is the text amendment, which I didn't bring my agenda up in front of me, but it's the first item under old business. I guess that's item A.
Can I have a
under old
straw
business.
poll on the text amendment then? Does everybody understand this? Okay. Is it just a hand raise or?
You can go down the line and ask.
Okay.
This is not.
Alderman Bolton.
What is she?
Clarify tax amendment once more, please.
The text amendment would be an amendment to the zoning ordinance to say that within the list of all the uses that somebody can come to us and apply for a conditional use permit, this parking lot, this auxiliary parking lot for a property that's located not within 300 feet, under the conditions, under the definition that's put in here, which would be the next straw poll. But just generally speaking, are we willing to have this in the list?
So the question the mayor is asking is, are you in favor of amending the text amendment? Yes is to allow, no would be not to allow.
The other thing is, I can throw this out if you would like, if you're just.
I apologize, Mayor, I can't hear you.
One more option is if you would like to take this back to committee and work out the details, you can do that.
You've held it over twice, right? Now, and I had a
Yeah.
question about that. We, the council, held it over once. The petitioner held it over once.
Right, so you
Can we hold it over again, Stu?
Should we table this until we got a
It would be
clarification?
going back to committee, which is council's purview.
You can do it definitely with the leave of the applicant. The applicant may request a vote tonight, and I will check the procedures to see how many times something can be held over.
Well, thank you. I think we should just call for a vote. We don't need a straw poll. We'll find out how everyone wants to vote when they vote. Just get to it.
So then we have to go through all of the language. So we have to go through every single line.
Well, that's what we're here for.
Okay,
Let's
then
do
let's.
it.
Okay, so we're back to, we're not doing a straw poll then?
No, I don't think there's any need, Mayor.
Okay. So are we amending?
We would have to
item-
make I'll make a motion to amend the text amendment
to
allow for, is it 500,000 square feet? Is that
city-
part of it?
Greg, just simplify. The city
That's not the
version
city's.
or the,
I guess it would be the Kennedy draft, I guess.
yes, okay, that's your
Is
motion.
that the language?
I'll second the motion.
Yeah, to amend it,
So the
allow the text, to allow it.
The motion is to approve an ordinance amending certain provisions of Article 10 and 13 of the City of Waukegan zoning ordinance regarding auxiliary outdoor storage of semi-trailers, reflecting the changes that were included in the Amazon Kennedy draft dated 11/11/2021.
That's fine.
Okay. So.
And I call out that there are more issues there than just the 500,000 versus 1.125
We
million.
got a motion and a second.
I'm sorry?
Okay. Well, this is just the one part. So, this is to amend the motion to the 500,000, not the other. So that opens it up to about maybe as many as 10 businesses that could do this.
What businesses?
So just, may I ask a question to clarify, just so I'm clear on my notes? So looking at section 3 of either draft ordinance. I'm going to have them both open here. Section 3, under 10.3-10. You're okay with item number 1? Alderman Moiseo, since it's your motion, may I ask these questions of you, sir?
Yes.
So 10.3-10 on the requirements, item number 1, the benefiting business being in Waukegan, I assume you're okay with that? I think there was no
They're in
contention there.
Waukegan, yes.
So number 2 was on the size, 1.125 million square feet versus 500,000. You're saying 500,000. Okay, the other points 3 and 4, we were in agreement. The other point here is item number 5.
which relates to the city wanting
Oh, this would be the 24-hour operations?
24-hour and a sound wall versus just 24-hour.
The sound wall.
Or in the city's case, 7 to 9,
see.
or a sound wall if it's longer. So
On the text amendment, we'd have to amend number 2 to 500,000, amend number 5 to 24 hours.
Well, on the text amendment, we're changing all of this, right? I mean, you're just,
points 2 and 5 are the ones that remain outstanding
Right.
in terms of agreement between Amazon and the city. So the other points that the business has to be in Waukegan, we all agree on that.
right, but
that
all
they
of
have-
this is changing the text, though, correct?
Just items 2 and 5 are the only thing that's being changed.
Those
No,
are the
I'm
only
saying
things
to
that-
the amendment, all of this is changing the existing ordinance.
Yes, this whole thing changes the existing ordinance
Not
to
just
add
the
this
redlined
use.
item, it's the whole document.
Right, but in terms of the motion, the points of clarification for approving this ordinance would be item number 2, the amount of space, and item number 5, the hours of operation.
The item number 5 is 24 hours without the sound barrier unless it's determined to be needed at some future point.
That's what Amazon is
Which is why you
proposing.
guys are going to meet or have the ability to meet with them every 2 months for the first year and then every year thereafter, correct?
The way that it's drafted is that we could call them to Planning and Zoning Commission up to every 2 months. So if you want that to be a requirement that they're called, then you'll need to include that in a motion also. Or the mayor will need to direct staff accordingly. Because that's something that we've generally reserved for if there's a complaint or concern.
Well, that makes sense.
So my point is just, if there's a motion, it should include both of those 2 items in the motion, item 2 and item 5.
The motion would be to amend the text amendment number 2 to 500,000 square feet.
I don't think we're looking at this the right way. I think that, first of all the language that's in here, whether you're looking at the city draft or the Amazon draft, is modifying the statute. So all of this language that we're looking at, not just the blue and red language, is going to be added to the ordinance. We need to vote on all of these things being added if we are in fact favor of a parking lot being on site. We now need to go down the path of going through items 1 through 5.
No, we don't.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
did it right. We're going to amend it to
I'll tell you what,
this or that.
I'm against number 1.
Okay.
So if we're gonna, are we gonna
no.
take a vote?
Yeah.
On
Vote
all
no.
of the language that's being added to the ordinance?
So just to be clear, the motion from Alderman Mozio was to take the text amendment that was proposed and to make amendments to that text amendment. And that what he is working off of is the red line. If that amendment is approved if that amendment to the motion is approved, then you will have a vote on whether you want to approve the text amendment. If the answer to that actual vote is no, then we stop, basically. If that is yes, then we'll move on to the conditional use permit.
Right.
And I know that this is confusing because we're doing an amendment to a text amendment, but this is kind of where we're stuck right now.
Okay, so we're looking at number 2, and we're looking at the language effectively 500,000 or 1 million and change.
Yes.
That's what we're debating.
Yes.
And are we stuck with those 2 numbers, or can it be somewhere in between?
Well, you have an amendment,
And second.
a proposed amendment and second from Alderman Mosey and Alderman Turner.
Yes.
You can discuss that, you can vote on it, and then we go back to the main motion.
Okay.
So right now, it's a motion to amend the text amendment.
To lower the minimum square footage from 1.125 million to 500,000. And then on condition number 5, to remove the maximum hours of operation and simply state that the operations could continue pursuant to what's in the conditional use permit.
What was the second part? I'm sorry, I still didn't hear. The second part? Was it? Yeah, 2 is to 500,000, and then 5 would be to 24 hours, correct?
No.
Or no, we're just voting on number 2? Has that text amendment change?
No, 2 and 5.
2 and 5, but you want to change that to 24 hours? The language that Amazon proposed was may only occur during the hours set forth in the conditional use permit.
Okay, which is going to be 20, okay, well, that would be voted on, okay.
24 hours.
Well, that's got to be voted on in the conditional use permit, so, okay, that's fine.
Right.
I get it, I get it,
Okay, is everybody clear on this?
somewhat, yeah.
Okay. Do you want to read the motion as it is, and then we'll do the vote? Because I'm confused on what we've written down now, and I don't have that paperwork.
Just changing the language in the text amendment, correct?
Basically amending the motion on the floor to reflect what is in the Amazon Kennedy draft 11/11/2021. That is the motion that's currently on the floor.
Yes.
Okay, any questions to that motion? Madam Clerk, were you able to get the motion? It was Alderman Mozio and, okay, second by Alderman Turner. Okay. Okay, roll call, please.
Alderman Seager.
Yes.
Alderman Mozio.
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood. Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Alderman Rivera.
No.
Alderman Florian.
No.
Alderman Hayes.
No.
3 to 4.
Okay.
Got Alderman Bolton.
Sorry, Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
Okay, so now we have a main motion on the floor. This is for the actual text amendment that was just amended by Alderman Mozio's motion. So now we're actually voting on whether to approve this text amendment.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, questions to the motion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Seager.
Aye.
Alderman Mozio.
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood.
Aye.
Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Alderman Rivera.
No.
Alderman Florian.
No.
Alderman Hayes.
No.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
5 to 3.
So the text amendment passes.
Yes.
Now you can go on to the next item on the agenda.
Item C, which is consideration of the zoning calendar, the vacation of...
No.
B.
Oh, I'm sorry, B, you're right. Consideration of the zoning calendar 2637 conditional use permit for outdoor storage of semi-trailers at 405 Lakewood Avenue, 435 Lakewood Avenue, and 3230 Dorchester Avenue.
So this is specifically, the city council has voted to amend the zoning code to allow this use as a conditional use in the I-1 district. Now, the item before you is the actual conditional use permit for the property that we've been discussing.
Okay.
And so, once again, the city council has before them 2 drafts. And I would say, as if there seeks to be amendments, I would say start with the city draft, as Alderman Mozio did, and then suggest amendments from there.
What would be the first amendment in that we would need? What would that be? Which decision would that be, Counselor?
Here, I'm going to bring
Okay.
over.
I have that amongst this gaggle of papers I have here, but I'm trying to. Okay, so that's.
I think the payment is the big.
It's in red line.
Oh, okay, got it. This is only. So the amendment would be to amend Section 2, letter C, to 24 hours per day, 7 days a week. Amend it also to item number 6, which takes out the sound barrier to be put in at a later date if possible. And then number 13 would be for the one-time payment of $200,000. So that would be the amendment. And I'll so move that.
Wait a minute, hold on. At item 6, it says that in any related matters, including sound barrier as required.
Item 6 would strike the sound barrier and be allowed at a later time. Because in number 6, they have to put the sound barrier in now.
Yeah, that's.
So I'm amending it to strike it now, and then if it's deemed necessary.
All right. Okay. And what was the last one?
One-time payment of
13.
$200,000.
Oh, and then, excuse me. And also 15, it says brought before the Planning Commission on a bi-monthly basis, and it would be, I'll even make the amendment. How about this one says on a bi-monthly basis? The draft says every other month. Does planning and zoning meet every month or every other month? Every month. And when they have something on the agenda.
No, this is just saying that.
We meet 11 out of 12 times.
Right.
But this is saying that the planning and zoning can call them in.
Correct. Okay.
Every 2 months.
Okay.
For the first. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So that we're cool with that.
I think the change that they put there is, and Mr. Callahan can confirm whether he was clarifying that bi-monthly sometimes can mean semi-monthly. And
Okay.
so lawyers don't like to use bi-monthly because we don't know if it means every 2 months or every half month.
Whatever,
Okay.
whatever the legal eagles decide.
Yeah.
Section
That's the
3.
24 hours, right?
No, it was,
That's 1C.
oh,
On page 4, 3,
that's the case, Bridge sells it to somebody else. That will be put in, I may also make that that a part of the amendment.
I have a question. On number 6, we indicate that we're gonna change that the barrier is not needed right now?
Not now.
And how are we going to determine if the barrier will be needed in the future?
If it comes back and there's complaints and we deem that we go out there with a thing and we deem it possible, then we'll go from there.
And how we, Stu, how easy is that? I mean, do we have to go to court over something like this, or?
Well, I thought that language is in the.
Probably as easy as it is for noise complaints, right?
So, Noel? Remind me, did Amazon propose specific language that allowed us to revisit and install at a later time?
Let me find the exact language.
Well, that was on page 5 in the presentation, right? The operation of the site does not meet the city noise ordinance. Amazon will implement noise attenuation measures, which may include installation of a sound wall if necessary. Page 5 in here, right? But it's
Yeah,
not,
but is it in the ordinance language?
it's not reflected in the.
Well, that's, the problem with that language is it's pretty vague. It doesn't really actually make you do it.
Well, no, what I'm asking is,
I knew it was there.
number 1, how do we establish that the noise has been violated? Who pays for that? And number 2, how do we go about correcting it if they don't want to do it?
Well, if we prove that it is above our noise ordinance, then they would have to put it in.
Okay, and we have to prove that?
Probably.
Okay.
I'm not, that's a question for council, but I'm
What
pretty
happens
sure.
if they refuse?
Attorney.
You get to go to court?
I guess.
Pay legal fees?
You like that, huh?
I mean, it's, whenever you have a violation, it is on the city to prove the violation.
So on page 4, number 5, says that they must comply with all requirements of the I-1 district, so that sound violation would be part of that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Are we good with, does everybody understand this amendment?
I would like to see in this amendment, the stipulation that they will add the noise attenuation measures is required. We got to add that language.
Right.
Because here it's not called out specifically.
So when, Noel, what was the, well, that's part of being in I-2, did you say?
I-1.
So that's part of a condition of already being in I-1 is that you have to meet the noise, correct?
You can't violate it.
Okay, so that's
Otherwise,
already
you're
in,
subject
that's
to
already
code
in
enforcement.
the zoning that they're going to be in, correct?
Right, but not that the sound wall would have to go in. I mean,
Oh, they would be
the city codes offer other remedies like
other remedies first and then,
penalties and
okay.
that kind of thing, plus the withdrawal of the CUP. So if we want to insert the sound wall as a potential remedy, that should be clarified within the ordinance.
Yeah, thank you.
Counselor, can we put in there that if it is deemed that they're in violation of the noise ordinance, that the mitigation would be a sound wall?
I would suggest some very tight language so that we have the ability for both sides to recognize what the threshold is for the violation. Is it the very first time there's a violation they have to put in a sound wall? Or if it's not that, then what is it, so that they understand, planning staff understands, Planning and Zoning Commission, who has to approve the site plan, understands, and the code enforcement also understands.
And that brings up another point, because has been spoken by their attorney, our ordinance is woefully antiquated, according to sound experts.
We have begun the process of redrafting the ordinance, so I think that's kind of a moot point here. In any case, that's our ordinance.
Right.
So even if it was from 1874, it's still our ordinance.
Right,
They're going to argue that the new ordinance doesn't apply to them, and they've been grandfathered in under the old and vague version that they've interpreted themselves. Why don't we just include a noise barrier? Why nitpick the language? Why not just have them put a noise wall in? Let's offer some protection for the people that came here.
Alderman Hayes, I would be with you, but they said it's a.
I
would
believe
you do?
Amazon has a response.
Do you know how much Amazon made last year?
We know that.
I mean, you can't even throw them a bone and give them a wall?
If that's up to.
We will agree that sound attenuation has to be put in. There's different ways to do it.
There you go.
They could adjust, many things and change it. But if they're not in violation, then there's nothing to do, and we've shown that we don't expect them to be in violation. If they are, there are different things that can be done. A sound wall is extraordinarily expensive, and there may be other ways to do it. So I don't want to be limited. I don't think they should be limited to a sound wall. They should be able to take other measures. If they don't work, then they have to put in a sound wall, or they don't operate at night. Those are the choices.
I like this. The language in this presentation says, which may include installation of a sound wall. Why don't we just adopt the language from the presentation?
That's
if
fine.
the operation of the site does not meet the city's noise ordinances, and to Noel's point, regardless of what the ordinance is, if they violate it, right, then Amazon will implement noise attenuation measures, which may include installation of a sound wall if necessary.
How about which must include? I mean, we just got a preview of their argument. There's many different ways we could do this. Oh, maybe it doesn't require a sound barrier. Now, is the burden on us now to require that they have to put in a sound wall? It sounds like a lot of work for the city, planning and zoning. Why not just make them put a sound wall up? Why go down the road of giving them a way out? If they want the property so badly and they're willing to disrupt the citizens, at least put up a wall. At least put up a wall to mitigate the noise. Maybe it's just under the noise ordinance. But isn't that disruptive to everybody in the middle of the night, 24 hours a day? Well, I mean, it's the least we can do as city council to protect the residents that have come out against this.
But you're essentially charging them $1 million when they're not violating the ordinance.
I'm not charging anybody. I haven't seen a quote.
Hold
on. I haven't seen a quote. Have you seen a quote for a sound wall? We're taking their word for it?
Well, you're calling the man a liar then, I guess.
Noel, Noel? If I could ask, do we know our ordinance is what, 50 decibels? for the noise?
It's the distance, isn't it? Like you can hear it 50 feet
And
away.
I don't have the ordinance memorized. I believe it's 50 on a continuous basis.
Okay, and then the information that we got from Amazon, they were at what,
I wanna say
46?
46?
46? So it's very close. It's a lot closer than not.
It is.
Okay.
It's not silent, that's for sure. Mayor, may I add a comment? I don't want to be out of line.
Sure.
But one of the things that the staff has considered on this is that it's a tight site. The parking lot and the stormwater retention are taking up the vast majority of the space. There are not big setbacks, big transitional yards, all of those things. So in terms of coming back sometime later and adding in a sound wall, that could be difficult. I understand their desire to not spend the money up front when we haven't demonstrated necessarily that there's going to be a violation. What I would request is that, and Jerry, this is news to you, so sorry to spring this on you, it's just coming as part of this discussion. Having the sound wall location being approved as part of the required site plan approval, so that if there is to be a sound wall somewhere later, we all know where it's going to be and what the dimensions are going to be, all of those kinds of things. That will also allow them to get pricing for it and to know what the cost would be. Alternately, you could require the sound wall be installed within X number of years unless there are no violations, et cetera, and you could sunset the requirement. So there are some ways that you can make a place for the sound wall without necessarily requiring it on day one.
Thank you, Noel, for that.
Yeah.
Could we, in the site plan, approve the sound wall, and also stipulate after whatever we decide, I just lost my train of thought, that we could require a sound wall? I mean, if we go, like, what was the second thing you said?
Hey, real quick, if I could just quote the report that was done by their acoustical study. However, for the highest source levels, the parking lot is expected to exceed Waukegan City Code noise ordinance limits during the nighttime hours at all of the nearby residential properties except apartment building number 4. Like, why are we debating whether to put a sound wall up or not when their own study said that it will exceed?
Was that they had 2 studies, Alderman. I don't know which one it was. I mean, that was the first one or the second
Shiner
one?
Acoustics LLC. You know what? If I don't like the results of my study, I'd go out and find another one too.
I don't know.
This is the language from their own expert. So why are we debating when we may or may not have to put a sound wall up, and then how we're going to go about enforcing the sound wall? Just make them put a sound wall up, and let's move on to the next item.
Can Mr. Callahan respond to that?
Can we raise hands for this?
Thank you.
As I explained when I was up here earlier, there are 2 different measurements in the sound study. One is average sound, which is essentially what your ordinance calls for. He also did for louder sounds, which is not your ordinance. So it gave you 2 different measurements. The high sound is not your standard. It's in there. And then we had another acoustical engineer look at it, agreed that this site will meet both the daytime and nighttime standard. So
I would amend it that the site plan has to have a spot for the sound wall. If anybody else wants to add anything.
Can I say what, Greg?
The site plan has to, as Noel told us, the site plan has to have a spot for a sound wall. If anybody else wants to add anything to that amendment,
I can go along with that, but then one other thing occurred to me. So when we stipulate that if there's a violation of the noise ordinance, does that mean by 1 decibel or a percentage? How are we going to equate? You know, maybe on Christmas Eve they violate the sound ordinance by 0.5 decibels. We going to penalize them for that, or how are we going to work? What's the down in the weeds on that one?
I think the answer is if you violate the ordinance, you get penalized.
No leeway, no cushion, no cut to the point, right?
Yeah, we're already allowing them to amend the ordinance for their intended purpose. If they violate the noise ordinance and it injures the residents, then, which it's going to do, because if I could just quote, if the action is desired to mitigate noise from the parking lot to the nearby residential properties, we recommend, they're expert, we recommend an acoustical barrier around the perimeter of the lot to the extent shown in Figure 5. The barrier should be a minimum of 16 feet high and about 1,000 linear feet and should be of monolithic construction. So again, here's the recommendation, guys. You've heard enough from me. This is their own expert.
Right.
Just put a sound barrier up. Let's not go back and forth between 1 decibel or 2 decibels or how many times they should come to planning and zoning. The property's selling for $1 million+. They can't put up $1 million sound barrier wall?
Okay, is that the end of the discussion? Let's make the,
I don't know.
okay, do you even have the motion? Because I'm all confused on the actual motion.
Well, we went back and forth a lot, and I'd prefer actually if the movement could give what he thinks is the motion, and then
Item C, 24 hours per day, 7 days a week. The conditional, and then on 3, obviously that's, add the part that's in blue because that's just if Bridge sells it, which they will, probably. And I will acquiesce and say the requirement of a sound wall. We'll see how it goes.
I got one.
okay, so basically.
And the 200,000 and then whatever else the.
So leaving the language in there that says including a sound barrier as required due to the property's proximity to residential uses. That is, okay. So no change to section 2, 6, yeah. So that is a motion to amend
Section 2.
the conditional use permit presented to the city council as stated by Alderman Moiseo. Does a second?
Yeah, by Alderman Turner.
Okay. So we have, so the motion is to amend the ordinance placed before you, and then we'll vote on the ordinance itself. Okay.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Seeger.
Aye.
Alderman Moiseo.
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood.
Aye.
Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Alderman Rivera.
No.
Alderman Florian.
No.
Alderman Hayes.
No.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
5-3.
So the amendment to the ordinance passes. Now to vote on the ordinance as amended to grant a conditional use permit.
For outdoor
Joel
storage.
Kennedy and Sunset Woods Development for the operation of auxiliary outdoor semi-trailer storage lot as amended by the previous motion.
Roll call.
Alderman Seeger.
Aye.
Alderman Moiseo.
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood.
Aye.
Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Alderman Rivera.
No.
Alderman Florian.
No.
Alderman Hayes.
No.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
5-3. Motion passes.
Item C, consideration of zoning calendar V221, vacation of Dorchester Avenue east of Lakewood Avenue. This matter was heard by the Community Development Committee at their October 4th, 2021 regular committee meeting and October 18th, 2021 City Council meeting. Any questions to the motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Alderman Turner.
Someone please explain what vacation means and why it's important and relevant here.
Yeah. So in this case, the property that is proposed for redevelopment is bisected, cut in half by right-of-way that is owned by the city. It's unimproved. It was never actually turned into a road, but it is property owned by the city. For this property to be developed as a whole rectangle, the developer is asking that the city give up that property in exchange for an appraised price, which is the standard price that is I think.
Dollar a square foot, she said.
Yeah, dollar a square foot.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions to the motion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Seager.
Aye.
Alderman Mosio.
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood.
Aye.
Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Alderman Rivera.
No.
Alderman Florian.
No.
Alderman Hayes.
No.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
5-3, motion pass.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item D, consideration of zoning calendar 2638, primarily and final plat of consolidation subdivision. This matter was heard by the Community Development Committee at their October 4th, 2021 regular committee meeting and October 18th, 2021 at their City Council meeting. Questions to the motion?
Yes, ma'am. Could you have someone please explain what this means for
Yes.
the audience?
So as I mentioned, the development parcel is comprised of multiple parcels, which were previously cut in half by the city right-of-way. So what this approves is basically combining all the properties into one zoning lot, so we can apply our zoning code. It will likely have just one tax parcel, and it is a technical but important part of the redevelopment process.
No amendment needs to be made on this, correct, Counselor?
No. Well, there was no disagreement between, if we got this far, there was no disagreement between staff and the applicant.
Thank you, Stu.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Alderman Turner, second by Alderman Bolton. Roll call, please.
Alderman Seager.
Aye.
Alderman Mosio.
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood. Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Alderman Rivera.
No.
Alderman Florian.
No.
Alderman Hayes.
No.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
5-3, motion pass.
Okay, thank you. So for the audience who's not clear, what will happen is this will go to 500 square feet for benefiting faculty. It'll be 24-hour operation with no sound wall.
No.
Well, no, I'm sorry. If it, let me review the last
Subject
page.
to the conditional
Subject to
use.
the conditional use permit. And there is a one-time payment of $200,000. Okay. Okay.
I know.
On to,
One-time payment for $200,000. Just give it away.
on to new business. Item A, closed session. Can I have a,
We're going to move that down.
yeah. Can I have a motion to move that to below item I?
I'll make the motion, move
Sure.
item A
Seconded.
to beneath.
Alderman
over.
Turner, seconded by Alderman Hayes.
All in favor?
So the first item up is a motion to approve an ordinance amending Section 21-137, administrative adjudication of parking and vehicle compliance tickets. That's been held over,
Okay.
okay? Because you didn't have paperwork to go with that. Item C, we're going to amend this motion. So it's a motion to adopt a resolution approving an agreement for the supply of electricity by AEP Inc.
AEP Energy.
Energy Inc. For electricity for city-owned water distribution locations with a not-to-exceed amount of .706 kWh. Any questions to the motion?
You got any water?
Questions to the motion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Seager.
Aye.
Alderman Mosio.
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood. Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Alderman Rivera.
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Hayes.
Aye.
Alderman Bolton. Motion pass.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item D, motion to authorize the proper city officials to issue a change order in the amount of $102,765,000, amending the contract which originally awarded on June 17th, 2020, in the amount of $80,000 to Insurance Program Managers Group, IPMG, to a revised total of $182,765 in order to account for additional and unanticipated costs associated with workman's compensation audit. This matter was presented to the Finance and Purchasing Committee on November 15th, 2021. Any questions to the motion?
Do I have a motion?
I'm sorry. First, Alderman Florian, second. Alderman Hayes. Okay, questions to the motion? Okay, roll call, please.
Alderman Seager.
Aye.
Alderman Mosio.
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood.
Aye.
Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Alderman Rivera.
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Hayes. Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item E. Can I have a motion for item E?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Alderman Rivera, second by Alderman Seager. A motion to authorize proper city officials to approve a change order with United Way in the amount of $15,533.10, increasing the contract amount from $20,000 to a not-to-exceed amount of $40,000. This item was presented before the Finance and Purchasing Committee on November 15th, 2021, and I believe this is for broadband.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what is this contract for? What do we contract with United Way for?
It's for broadband.
For who?
I think it was CDBG, was CDBG?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wrong
Huh?
City.
It's CDBG money, it's federal money, it's not really our money. We're just,
Yeah. But who gets the broadband?
It goes to the committee that is doing the Connect Waukegan. Actually, Thomas is going to come up and explain about it.
It's a consulting fee, looks like.
Good evening, Council. The $20,000 is the CDBG's contribution to the otherwise privately funded master plan for a broadband consultant to review, do a master plan, community assessment of broadband needs. So that's access, adoption, and use of Internet throughout the city of Waukegan. And that's our partnership. A few weeks ago at Broadband Committee, we discussed with the various other entities.
Okay, thanks, Thomas.
Item F. Can I have a motion?
Was there a
Oh,
vote
I'm sorry,
on
did
E?
we do
No.
roll call? No, I'm sorry.
We're
Roll
on
call,
E.
please.
Ready?
Yep.
Alderman Seager.
Aye.
Alderman Mosio.
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood.
Aye.
Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Alderman Rivera.
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Hayes.
Aye.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item F. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Alderman Turner, second by Alderman Seager. Questions to the motion? Okay. Motion to waive the competitive bidding requirements and approve the resolution authorizing the purchase of a street sweeper from EJ Equipment for a not-to-exceed amount of $295,350. Funds will be charged to line item 307-130-726-362. Roll call, please.
Alderman Seager.
Aye.
Alderman Mosio.
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood.
Aye.
Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Alderman Rivera.
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Hayes.
Aye.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item G, can I have a motion? A first? Alderman Florian, second Alderman Hayes. A motion to waive the competitive bidding requirements and approve a resolution authorizing the purchase of a base loader from EJ Equipment for a not-to-exceed amount of $113,401. Funds will be charged to line item 307-130-726-362. Roll call, please.
Alderman Seager.
Aye.
Alderman Mosio.
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood.
Aye.
Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Alderman Rivera.
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Hayes.
Aye.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item H, can I have a motion, a first? I need a
A
first.
second.
Okay, Alderman Rivera, second. Alderman Florian. Any questions to the motion? An ordinance approving an appropriation transfer relative to the annual appropriation adopted for the May 1st, 2020 to April 30th, 2021 fiscal year. This matter was presented before the Finance and Purchasing Committee on November 15th, 2021. Roll call, please.
Alderman Seager.
Aye.
Alderman Mosio.
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood.
Aye.
Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Alderman Rivera.
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Hayes.
Aye.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item I. Can I have a first? I need a first.
I'll make
Alderman
it.
Rivera, second by Alderman Turner. Motion to waiving the competitive bidding requirements and approve the resolution authorizing the purchase of F-350 from Curie Commercial Center for an amount not to exceed $60,682. Funds will be charged to line item 307-130-726-362. Questions to the motion? Okay. Roll call, please.
Alderman Seager.
Aye.
Alderman Mosio.
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood.
Aye.
Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Alderman Rivera.
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Hayes.
Aye.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Can I have a motion to go into closed session?
Make the motion to go into closed session?
Yes. Okay, Alderman Turner, second by Alderman Rivera. Closed session to discuss pending litigation pursuant to Section 2C-11 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act, 5 ILCS 120-2-C-11. Roll call, please.
Alderman Seager.
Aye.
Alderman Mosio. Alderman Kirkwood.
Aye.
Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Alderman Rivera.
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Hayes.
Aye.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
I expect we'll be back in about 30 minutes. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it is.
Yes. We're putting it,
I have a whole list of you. Wow. All right, let's get to it.
Anybody talks it all the time, they gotta be crazy. Anybody talks it all the time. Nobody talks it all the time, they gotta be crazy. No one. I'm not.
Can I have a motion to bring everybody back from?
Motion.
I'll
executive-
second it.
Okay.
Turner and Rivera.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Seager.
Aye.
Alderman Mosio.
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood. Alderman Newsome. Oh, I'm sorry. Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Alderman Rivera.
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Hayes. Did I say Alderman Bolton? Because I had to move over.
You had to go to the washroom.
10:30. And Mayor.
Okay. Present. Alderman time.
Seeger.
Are we starting with Mr. Seeger tonight?
Yes.
or-
Yes.
Alderman Seager.
Pass.
Alderman Mosio.
Pass.
Alderman Kirkwood.
Pass.
Alderman Turner.
Oh, no. So, couple of things. Firstly, I just want to comment and draw attention to and give accolades to Mayor Taylor, Mayor No Tax Taylor. So we received, and I was distracted during the Finance Committee meeting, but I think I know there was a presentation made there. But bottom line is, Mayor Taylor took office in May of 2019. It's about 6 months ago.
21, not 19.
So whatever, right. 21, yeah. So about 6 months ago, May of this year, Mayor Taylor took office. In the time Mayor Taylor, when she took office, there had been essentially been no effort made towards budget preparation. Also, she did not have a finance director. What she did inherit was a $5 million deficit. Is that right? $5 million, wasn't it? $8.5 million deficit. But in about 30 days, less than 30 calendar days, she reduced that to less than $1 million. And from there, she, cobbled it down further. But the reason I mention that now is because our interim finance director, Don Schultz, reported that we're going to have a negative tax levy as opposed to what the levy was last year. So in less than 6 months, the mayor has also reduced our tax levy less than what it was last year. And that is something that I've never heard of, and I know I never heard of it here in Waukegan in the 20 years that I stood back in that corner. So I just want to applaud you, Mayor, and thank you for your diligence, your efforts, and your stick-to-itness and getting it done. And I'm just couldn't be more delighted. All right.
Thank you. It's been, honestly, having Mr. Schultz here has been amazing, and you know, working with him and chipping away at things has been really outstanding.
Yeah, I think you're outstanding. I'm glad I supported you. All right, so in the 6th Ward, we're having a spate of graffiti attacks again, but I want to kudos to the Public Works team and police officers. The police department goes out and takes pictures for their gang intelligence gathering effort. Public Works goes out and cleans up the graffiti, and they did, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 graffiti cleanups or paint overs, mostly on electrical boxes and, you know, the ATT boxes or mailboxes, but it's also on some buildings. And I just want to remind our neighbors that if you see graffiti, report it. You can report it directly to Public Works, you can report it to the police department, and you can certainly report it to me, and we'll make an effort to get it cleaned up. I know that there are some graffiti out there that still has not been cleaned up as of yet, but it's on the list. And I'm out still doing my early morning patrols, so if I see it, I'm reporting it, calling it in. But please do not hesitate to report graffiti. As far as leaf pickups go, I believe we've reached the end of our leaf pickup contract with Waste Management, but they're behind. All the leaves have not fallen. I talked with Director Garland, Public Works. He has met and spoken with Waste Management. They're going to continue to honor their contract, and they'll be making runs through to suck up the leaves. And where they can't do, we're working on an alternative plan or an additional initiative that's going to get up some of those leaves. So please be patient. We know the leaves are out there. For the aldermen, you can call Director Garland directly, or you can call Liz and Jim if you know their numbers, you know, regular number. If you have a hot spot, you know, there's a huge pile over there. I know last year at the church over on Grand, they had just half a block of leaves out there, and it was, you know, 3 feet high. So anyway, that's pretty much all I have for 6th Ward report this evening. Thanks for your attention. Have a good night.
Alderman Rivera.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I just want to say thank you to those who stuck around. It is past 10:30. And also to thank everyone that came initially to the meeting and spoke. Speaking, you know, taking your 3 minutes is a difficult task, I understand, and I appreciate all the input, good or bad. Other than that, have a great evening, and God bless everyone. Thank you.
Alderman Florian.
Pass.
Alderman Hayes.
Just like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy time with your family and maybe take some time off.
Alderman Bolton.
Yes, this is a month of Thanksgiving. Remember, attitude is gratitude. Don't forget the veteran donation and supporting the veterans. The supply list is out there. And then don't forget the Diaper Drive. And there's many in need. God bless you. Thank you.
Mayor, one quick thing. Alderman Rivera, at your next committee meeting, there's been a request we have a subcommittee, the Environmental Committee. We'd like to get that going if possible, Mayor. There's some agenda items that we'd like to be put on there. It would be a subcommittee of Alderman Rivera's committee. I don't know how that works. I think it's just the same committee members. But let's work that out and get that on the next next time that we meet for that. Can we do that? Thank you so much.
And I apologize. Leaf pickup for the 1st Ward would be November 23rd and projectively November 24th. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, everyone. Good night.
I'll get